big question remains unanswered. Who partitioned India? Partition of the subcontinent remains to be the most successful running whodunit movie of Indian history. Warm good evening to one and all present here. As far as I recollect my school days, school children in India have been brought up to believe that one man was responsible for partition of India. It is also true that no single man or a cause can be held responsible for a big event like this. It's always a host of remote causes and multiple personalities which lead to a bigger event like partition. Speaking on the subject, it is imperative to note as to what led for branching out of a separate state. Historians, both Indian and world-renowned, agree to the fact, and they've been agreeing to this fact for a long time, that there wasn't any need, an absolute need to carve out a separate state when the subcontinent itself got freedom just a day before. Yet, the partition happened. And it happened to be the most painful and most tragic events in its long and painful history. Take a look at this, what happened. In what is termed as the greatest human migration in the history of India, about 15 million people were displaced, distraught, dejected from their hometowns and their living places. Close to 2 lakh people were slaughtered, butchered to death, and the bloodshed continued for about months, leaving hundreds of thousands suffering. Just think about this. Under absolute normal circumstances, when one of us is asked to relocate from our living place, without any notice, we panic, not knowing where to head. Think of what happened then. Millions of people moved out at one go, only never to return. The new land, which came into existence as Pakistan, the land of the pure, became a new destination. What had happened? All those great leaders who put in their heart and soul in keeping India united, what happened to their efforts? Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, father of the nation, who himself was opposed to the partition of India, he could not stop unfolding of history before his eyes. The great Mahatma who once declared that all those who wanted partition had to walk over my dead body, the very same partition killed him much before he was shot on a point-blank range. A majority of national leaders who constantly opposed the partition of India, what happened? What made them soften to the melting point? Well, these questions remain just as a matter of historical curiosity now, and they'll never be answered. To come to think of it, all those who were involved in the process of partition have now safely disappeared into the dark curtain of time. And these questions now just remain as a matter of historical curiosity. The fact is that partition had divided 2 sets of people who had lived together for hundreds of years. What is important to note is soon after India, people of India were not really keen to dig deep as to what really went wrong. Partly because, I suspect, people were vaguely afraid of guilt. It certainly appeared to be a serious crime, at least to those patriotic Indians who were trained to worship Mother India. It wasn't just a national blunder for them, it was an act of disrespect. It is often said that history does not give you definitive answers, for historians are not necessarily the best interpreters. But now that the noise and dust has settled down after 60 long years, maybe, just maybe it is time to see events in a clear light. Look how similar people at the other end are. They love our movies. The greatest ghazal singers in Pakistan are more known in India. Even today, the taste of food, the language is so strikingly similar to a majority of other parts of our country. And why is that? For a very simple reason. Once upon a time, they were a part of us. And most importantly, we were a part of them. No one can negate this fact. Citizens of a different country finding a strong relevance with a different nation altogether, even after 60 long years, is something which cannot be ignored. Well, I know, we cannot unite 2 nations at this juncture. But what does this call for? Endless boundary disputes, state-sponsored terrorism, nuclear arms race which is pumping in a lot of public money, military wars waged between two neighbors as and when they feel like, masterminds of extortion rackets. These issues can be brought into place and brought into justice to save the nation from a bigger crisis. It certainly calls for not digging deep as to what really went wrong way back in 1947. It certainly calls for not debating as to who partitioned India. What is needed in the first place is to find out or to resolve the long-standing differences. This, my dear friends, is particularly important because, mind you, partition of the subcontinent remains to be a stain on our freedom till date, and unfortunately, even today, it continues to haunt India's public memory.